Q13.
I'm Don James. Join us for Husky Highlights, Sunday afternoon at 4 on KCPQ, your Husky channel.
The following is a Q13 sports special.
Tonight on Ball Saturday night, Stevie Webster had a big day in a driving rainstorm. No, this isn't Pullman, it's Los Angeles, but the result the same as USC reaches into its bag of tricks on Halloween Day. And one of the biggest small college matchups in the country today in Tacoma, the visitors took it to UPS. Central Washington's Jamie Dillingham had a most impressive day in front of his hometown fans. Good evening, I'm Keith Shipman along with Tacoma News Tribune sports columnist J Michael Kenyon, and we're pleased you've joined us for another edition of College Saturday Night. J Michael, the Rose Bowl picture is becoming very clear now as the UCLA Bruins are stepping forth. Things kind of crazy in the Big Ten, but we know you want to give everybody the report about what's going on in the Ivy League.
Well,
Tell us
it's
what's
not
going on.
only the Ivy League, it's not the Rose Bowl either, Keith. It's the Orange Bowl. That's where Notre Dame and Nebraska are going to wind up playing for the national championship.
Nebraska?
Yes, the team that beat UCLA, you perhaps remember that game.
The team then that will beat Oklahoma.
That will beat Oklahoma and play Notre Dame after Notre Dame beats Miami. But I don't want to give it all away to everybody. And, of course, today is the Tim Brown show. The only thing I might say about Columbia is that there may be a spot in the Columbia Football League for them. They could move out here, perhaps, and play against Eastern Oregon and Southern Oregon. They lost for the 38th consecutive time today to Lehigh.
Not a pretty day for Columbia. Let's get into Pac-10 highlights and scores right now and get you up to date on that Rose Bowl race. First off, the UCLA Bruins in a most important game at Arizona State, and the Bruins victorious today. Arizona State considered by many the team that could put everyone else back in the Rose Bowl race by defeating UCLA, but it didn't happen. Arizona State scored the first 9 points, and then Brian Brown, in place of Gaston Green, who was injured, went to work on an 8-yard touchdown run, and then this 74-yard touchdown run, a 5'9", 180-pound sophomore out of Carson, California. He, of all people, admires all-pro running back Eric Dixon. I don't know of anybody that admires him right now. UCLA 31, Arizona State 23, the final. Gaston Green left the game with a shoulder injury with just 6 carries, finished with
pinched nerve.
minus
pinched nerve.
5
pinched
yards
nerve.
rushing.
The stress of the Heisman Trophy race. He was starting to fall behind Tim Brown, and of course, it injured him today. But UCLA, obviously, a quality football team. If they can play this well, especially in the second half against Arizona State, without Gaston Green, they are the cream of the West.
Boy, what a surprising day for Brian Brown. 19 carries, 134 yards. Troy Aikman, by the way, 22 for 30 passing, 328 yards and a couple of touchdowns. The Cougars beat the Trojans last year in Pullman, but they've never beaten Southern Cal in consecutive years, and that stayed the same. Today in Los Angeles, a driving rainstorm. Stevie Webster, a 6-yard touchdown run for the Trojans to give them a 7-0 lead. Richard Calvin produced the Cougars' only points on this 19-yard touchdown run, made it 7-7 in the first quarter. Webster went to work once again. This 9-yard run didn't result in points, but it did the next play. Take a look at the water on the field. Boy, that looks like the Puget Sound. The 34-yard end around as the Trojans go to their bag of tricks. Flanker Randy Tanner scores the points as USC rolls to a 42-7 victory. J. Michael, Stephen Webster, 157 yards, a couple of touchdowns in this game. Rodney Peete threw for a touchdown and ran for another 155-yard effort on his part.
Rodney Peete becoming all-time passing yardage leader for USC. He's still just a junior. He's got another year to go, as we've said all year long, probably the outstanding athlete. The amazing thing, though, Keith, is that it would rain more in one day in Los Angeles than it has in the Northwest in the last 5 months.
True enough. True enough. Arizona at Stanford today in Palo Alto, and the Wildcats recorded their first road victory of 1987, a 23-13 victory over the Stanford Cardinal. Chuck Cecil of Arizona intercepted 4 passes, tying the Pac-10 record in that game. California visited Oregon today. Boy, Rich Brooks said the thing that frustrates him most about this season, J. Michael, is that he's not beating teams he should beat. Here's an example. California beats them 20-6.
But Oregon, we've got to admit that Oregon obviously doesn't have anywhere near the depth that they would have liked to have had. They've had some injuries. They've played some tough games, won some big games, and now the fact their manpower is just starting to pop. They just don't have enough horses to keep it going.
And let's look now at what happened with Washington today. If you don't want to hear the score and are saving things up for this tape delay that we have coming up for you at 10:30 tonight here on Q13, well, move aside, turn the sound down for just a moment. We're going to show you the score now of Today's result at homecoming at Husky Stadium. 66,000 strong looking on, and the Huskies record a 28-12 victory, identical score to last year's game with Oregon State. And again, we'll have the game for you this evening at 10:30, Q13.
Was the game identical?
The game, pretty much so.
No Parker Stadium, though.
No Parker Stadium, Husky Stadium. And it was identical in many ways in that it created some frustrations for head coach Don James, and they know they have a lot of work to do.
Well, frustration is something he's learning to deal with pretty well this year, I thought.
Washington meets Arizona a week from tonight in the Land of the Sun. We'll have that game for you here on Q13, 5:30, live coverage, and, of course, college football Saturday night at 10. Let's look at the Pac-10 standings now, and we see how those bowl race is shaking out. UCLA, the only unbeaten team in conference play. The Trojans look like the team that can catch them if anyone can.
Well, they can beat UCLA and go to the Rose Bowl, can't they? If they both win the rest of their games, it could come down to the USC-UCLA game. Wouldn't be, that would really make a great game. And the thing that USC has got to do that they haven't done in the last 5 years is beat UCLA or Notre Dame. They're 1-8 now against those two major rivals, even with new coach Larry Smith losing Notre Dame last week.
Washington is 3-2. Arizona, with 2 wins, 2 losses, and a tie, and Arizona State at 2-2 is in 5th place. As we go to the second half of the Pac-10 standings, you see Oregon, Stanford, California, the Cougars at 1-3, and Oregon State, the only winless team in Pac-10 play. And as we go to break, let's bring you some more scores from around the country. We're pleased you've joined us tonight on college football Saturday night. College football Saturday night is brought to you by Ham's Beer from the land of sky blue water. Nothing beats the tall taste of ham.
You thought rollerball was the sport of the future. Rollerball is now. The Major Indoor Soccer League's high-scoring Tacoma Stars square off in a championship rematch November 4th as they play unfriendly hosts to the Dallas Sidekicks at 7:15 in the Tacoma Dome. Get your tickets now for War at all Ticketmaster outlets or by calling the Stars. The Payless Laser Show begins at 7:15, and Coca-Cola Bottling Company is giving away a hot new schedule poster to the first 20,000 fans. Don't miss out as the two teams in the MISL renew their rivalry. It'll be war.
For more than 50 years, Hams has been talking about the land of sky blue waters. Well, it's time we stopped talking and started showing.
From the land of sky blue waters, from the land of pines, lofty balsams, comes the beer refreshing. It's the pines and sunset breezes. Hams the refreshing, Hams the beer refreshing Hams.
Hi, I'm Bill Moose here at the beautiful new Coeur d'Alene Resort with Jerry Jagger, president of Hagedon Hospitality and co-owner of the Coeur d'Alene and the University Inn in Moscow, and a dedicated friend of Cougar Athletics.
Thanks, Bill. We're proud of our hotels and restaurants, and we're proud to support Cougar Athletics. We'd like to invite all of you to share in the excitement and join us in the Cougar Club and as season ticket holders to have a winning tradition at Washington State University.
For WSU ticket information, call 1-800-GO-COUGS.
Officer Tom Henson, Judy Hoffs, Doug Penhall, Harry Truman Ioki, and Captain Adam Fuller, the cops of 21 Jump Street. And Sunday, they've got a riot on their hands.
And it could get worse.
Then, on Werewolf, meet Sweet Jake Williams, ex-champ, and Eric Cord's childhood hero. But will he be his next victim?
Sunday night beginning at 7 on Channel 13.
Keith Shipman, J Michael Kenyon, college football Saturday night, and we're pleased you've joined us on this Halloween evening. We hope that all the ghosts and goblins have made their way through your home now, and you're ready to settle back and watch some college football. Husky football Saturday night coming up in just a few minutes We replay the Washington and Oregon State homecoming game at Husky Stadium this afternoon.
Are we going to start our top 20 with Notre Dame, or are we going to?
We're going to start with the #1 team in the country, according to the Writers of America, and that is Oklahoma.
Just for the time being.
For the time being, you think. Let's look at the score. Oklahoma. Basketball game today.
Made the number. They've been favored by a cumulative total of 285 points in the last 7 games.
634 yards of total offense. Lydell Carr, 114 yards rushing today for the Sooners. 71 points, the most ever allowed by the Kansas defense. Second-ranked Nebraska at Missouri. In Columbia, Steve Taylor passed for 4 touchdowns. He ran for another. Todd Banderas caught 3 touchdowns in the Cornhuskers' victory. First time they've given up a touchdown in 3 games. That's going to be a great football game. Nebraska and Oklahoma when the two meet in Big Ten play.
One of the national championship semifinals. And, of course, the other one the next week when Miami plays Notre Dame.
Both teams now 8-0. Oklahoma 8-0 and 4-0 in Big 8 play.
You don't have to tell them that I've got
Nebraska.
you don't have to tell them I have a Notre Dame press book, Knute Rockne's picture, and I'll just
Third-ranked
you go ahead
Miami
and
of
talk about the
Florida
other teams.
at East Carolina today. And Miami had a relatively easy time in this game. Some saying Miami of Florida, the team destined for the mythical national championship in 1987. Brian Blades hoped so. He received on the receiving end of this touchdown pass from Steve Walsh. That made it 7-0. Warren Williams then ran 19 yards to help the Hurricanes' cause. They rolled up 449 yards of total offense. Their 27th consecutive regular season victory, a 41-3 win over East Carolina. Tulane at 4th-ranked Florida State. Here's another interesting score. Florida State's quarterback Danny McManus threw for 256 yards and 3 touchdowns. Sammy Smith rushed for 111 yards, 3 touchdowns.
I like to amaze you with statistics, and I try to do it each week. I have my best little-known piece of trivia of the season to go with this game. Do you realize this is only the 2nd time in the last 41 years that Florida State's played a football game on Halloween?
Is that right?
That's a true story.
And give us some background.
You want me to go deeper than that? Let's get on with the rest of the top 20.
You want to get to Notre Dame.
We're coming up to Notre Dame here pretty soon.
5th-ranked Louisiana State visiting Ole Miss today. 42-13 the final score. Wendell Davis, 3 touchdown receptions to lead the Tigers. 10th-ranked Florida at 6th-ranked Auburn. The Gators and Tigers in a top 10 matchup. In Auburn, Jordan-Hare Stadium, Emmitt Smith fumbles on this play. He gained just 72 yards, first time he's been held under 100 yards when he started a football game. Lawyer Tillman on the receiving end of this Jeff Berger touchdown pass. That made it 15-3. Auburn went on to a 29-6 victory in this game.
Yeah,
Boy, Jeff Berger, what a story he's been.
Well, but we just scared him. Look at we've got the wrong score on the thing. 69-6. It wasn't that bad for Florida, even though Emmitt Smith fumbled. That's only the 7th time in 5 years that Emmitt Smith has fumbled a football. He fumbled all these times in 1,127 carries when he was in high school in Pensacola.
He gained a few yards in high school ball.
8,800 yards is what he gained.
In 3 seasons.
No, 4 seasons.
4 seasons.
And how many touchdowns did he score in high school? 106.
Whew.
He's amazing. He really is. Even though they lost today, he gained 72 yards and 21 carries, and he's got an incredible future ahead of him. After Tim Brown wins the Heisman this year, he'll win it the next 3 years.
The only Pac-10 team in the top 20 is UCLA, and the 7th-ranked Bruins visited Arizona State today, came away with a win. UCLA now 5-0 in conference play, 7-1 overall. 8th-ranked Syracuse is now 8-0 after their victory over Pittsburgh. The Orangemen on the road against the Panthers, just like they were in the Carrier Dome. Don McPherson, the 10-yard touchdown pass to Tommy Kane. This made it 24-10 Syracuse, and that was the final score in this football game. McPherson 8 of 17 for 178 yards and a couple of touchdowns. He ran for 1 as well. Defensive end Rod Burnett, 4 sacks in this game. Pitt's Craig Hayward, he carried 24 times for 141 yards.
Interesting thing about Hayward, who has gone over the 100-yard mark now 8 times in a row, and is an awfully big person. He's bigger than the defensive tackles on their team. He's really ahead of steam, but they stripped the ball away from him a couple of times early today, and that got Syracuse rolling. Syracuse was awesome in the first quarter and then hung on to win.
Now, before you go off, let us show the highlights.
This Notre Dame game coming up now.
This is the Notre Dame game. Let us show the highlights first. The Fighting Irish fresh off their victory over Southern California, and they won again today. They beat Navy 56-13, and what a way to come off a victory over Southern Cal. Anthony Johnson, a 9-yard touchdown run. This made it 14-0. And then Tim Brown on the receiving end of this Kent Graham touchdown pass. It goes for 52 yards. This made it 35-6. 56-13 the final score. Anthony Johnson scored 4 touchdowns in this game. Notre Dame in its first 3 possessions never looked back. The Fighting Irish now 6-1 in 1987. Their lone loss to Michigan State. That could haunt them.
Haunt them? Why is it going to haunt them?
Well, would you rather have an unbeaten Miami?
No, it wasn't a Michigan State. They beat Michigan State.
Well,
Pittsburgh got lucky in the rain. Remember when the ball slipped out of Tim Brown's hand?
That's right.
61st time they played Navy. They've beaten them 24 times in a row. They've never scored more points against Navy. A fine tune-up, but things get tougher. Now they got Boston College, they got Alabama, Penn State, and Miami in their next 4 games. They're going to deserve the national championship when they get it.
And what is this document you hold in your hand?
Oh, this is the just the press guide, 100th anniversary season. See what it says here? The spirit of legends. The spirit of legends. 100. It's only appropriate that they would have their 7th Heisman Trophy winner in their 100th anniversary season.
It's time to move on in the top 20 now and look at a Big Ten matchup between 11th-ranked Indiana and Iowa. The winner in this game, the Hawkeyes, and the Hoosiers making everyone forget about Bob Knight's basketball team that began practice a couple of weeks ago. But Quinn Early and the Flea Flicker got to the Hoosiers early in this game, if you will. 35-yard touchdown pass made it 7-0 Iowa. Then Ernie Jones, a 41-yard touchdown reception. This made it 13-7 Iowa. The Hawkeyes never look back. They're now 3-2 in conference play. Indiana is 4-1. Iowa's Chuck Hartley completed of 27 passes today for 271 yards and a touchdown as the Hawkeyes rolled up 445 yards of total offense.
Mentioned to you last week that I thought Indiana was going to have trouble at Iowa. Michigan State now, with victories over Michigan and Ohio State, is in the inside track to get to the Rose Bowl, yet they still have to play Indiana in between Purdue and Wisconsin. So George Pearl's team isn't all the way out of the woods yet, but they took Iowa gave them a big hand today.
And as we mentioned last week, if the Rose Bowl were played right now, UCLA would be in it for the Pac-10, and this week it would be Michigan State for the Big Ten Conference. 12th-ranked Georgia visits Florida a week from today as the Bulldogs will go on the road. 13th-ranked Tennessee at Boston College today. The Volunteers making one of those rare road trips that they so seldom take, and they were beaten. A 7-yard touchdown run by the Eagles. Frazier made it 20-3. Then Reggie Cobb, a 2-yard touchdown run, made it 20-10. Tennessee would add another touchdown from Cobb, but it would be enough in the end as Boston College rallied with a couple of touchdowns on their first 2 second-half possessions. Tennessee now 5-2-1. Boston College is 5-4.
The other thing we should mention, a surprise to most people, this result, but I think Boston College is healthy now. This is the first time all year that they've been healthy, and they're a good football team. They're going to give Notre Dame all they want next week, too.
Wake Forest at 14th-ranked Clemson today, and this was, again, an easy time for Clemson. 31-17 the final as Clemson sophomore back Joe Henderson rushed for 131 yards on 20 carries and picked up a couple of touchdowns. A Big Ten matchup which featured 2 top 20 teams, Michigan State and Ohio State. The Spartans and the Buckeyes in Ohio Stadium in Columbus. Ohio's Everett Ross, an 80-yard touchdown reception from Tom Tupa, made it 7-0 Buckeyes. And then Bob McAllister would come on and add a 15-yard touchdown run for the Michigan State Spartans, which would tie it up at 7 apiece. The game-winning points turned in by John Langloh with a field goal, a couple of them actually, as Michigan State puts themselves in the front-runner seat for the Big Ten title.
And yet another one of these teams has got a quarterback that can gain a lot of yardage. Why doesn't the University of Washington quarterback ever run for 130 or 140 or 150 yards? Does that got something to do with a wishbone or some more explosive offense? Are they keeping something from us, not showing us everything here?
Let's move on. Mississippi State at 16th-ranked Alabama. This game played at Legion Field in Birmingham
today. Ask Don about that tomorrow when you got him on.
I'll do that. Bobby Humphrey became the Crimson Tide's all-time leading rusher. He passed Johnny Musso today in the 21-18 victory over Mississippi State. Kansas State at 17th-ranked Oklahoma State. The Cowboys' Thurman Thomas, 16 carries for 130 yards and 3 touchdowns. Sophomore Barry Sanders, 17 carries for 105 yards and a couple of touchdowns in that game as well. So they had 2 people go over the 100-yard mark. Penn State against West Virginia today, and a 25-21 victory turned in. Blair Thomas busy today, 36 carries for 181 yards. And North Carolina State went to South Carolina today. This game played in Columbia, South Carolina. South Carolina's defense held NC State to 36 yards of total offense, minus 13 yards rushing.
This is a team that beat Clemson last week, and they barely, in the second quarter today, they got to the South Carolina 49. That's the deepest penetration of the entire ballgame.
It's time for our weekly feature on college football Saturday night, the College Football Saturday Night Play of the Day. It comes from the Notre Dame-Navy game. Another Tim Brown highlight to show you. Notre Dame's outstanding punt return specialist doing what he does best. This punt return of 60 yards. But watch, he retreats before accelerating. Take a look at this. Ends up galloping, what, 60 yards for a touchdown, or so we thought. Clipping on the Irish. It gets called back. Fourth time this year, had a touchdown return called back because of penalty. And that's the college football Saturday night play of the day.
For 7 hours, the family waited for the kidnapper's call. So did Sally Parr at Pacific Northwest Bell.
Nothing. Another call. This may be it.
Want you to do what I tell you to do.
Leave the number. It's a phone booth.
When the call finally came through, so did the police.
Very slow. Open the door.
We don't kidnappers every day.
Sally, we got him.
But when you need us, we're here. Every day. We're Pacific Northwest Bell.
When was the last time you had a cool, crisp, clear hands, fresh from the land of sky waters?
Ham's the beer refreshing. Ham's the beer refreshing. Ham's the beer refreshing.
KCPQ, the Northwest Movie Channel, presents the November Movies.
Defective headlight. Wish we knew first. Las Vegas.
The November Movies, coming to Channel 13.
There are people who think that Halloween is a kid's game. It isn't.
The one thing that'll spoil a party is a visit by a ghost.
I command you to be gone.
And when that ghost is your dearly departed Uncle Lewis,
I've come back to undo the curse.
you will find yourself facing deadly traps and little demons.
I've been waiting for you, Jack.
Yes, it's a haunted Halloween on Friday the 13th, the series.
Sunday night at 10 on Channel 13.
College football Saturday night. Keith Shipman along with J Michael Kenyon from the Tacoma News Tribune. Time to look at that Columbia Football League and find out how the small colleges in our area did today. First off, Pacific Lutheran University, ranked third in the country, entertained Simon Fraser and wasn't a very good host. 42-13 the final score. The Lutes ranked third in the country in this week's NAIA Division II poll. Jeff Yarnell, 14 of 18 for 225 yards, a couple of touchdowns out at Lakewood Stadium today. Eric Krebs, 13 carries for 92 yards. In a big victory, the Lutes' sixth straight. 25th ranked Central Washington at 15th ranked Puget Sound. The Loggers trying to right themselves after a disappointing loss to snap their 10-game losing streak, or rather winning streak a week ago, and they couldn't do that. You've got a bad day. They turned the ball over, interceptions, fumbles on just too many occasions, and this is really what caught up with them. But Central Washington's Jamie Dillingham, a product of Tacoma's Wilson High School, had a huge day. 30 carries for 190 yards. Kevin Rogers also rushed for a couple of touchdowns and had a 100-yard day for Central Washington as the Wildcats beat up on UPS by a 24-14 score. Sad news is that Mike Oliphant was injured in the third quarter of this game, and he will likely be out for the rest of the...
He's really been injury-prone the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it really caught up to him today with a, dislocated hip, which is going to make it very difficult for him to score many more touchdowns this year. But he's had a phenomenal career at UPS. It's just a shame that he has to perhaps end it on the sideline.
13 carries for 84 yards before he was injured in the third period today. Western Washington visited Lewis and Clark, and the Vikings win. Now, this is significant in that it's the first time since 1979 that the Vikings lost in 3 straight games. Western had a win, a tie last week, and a victory today, which helps them shake that losing type of habit, and they're 3-3-1 right now.
They're starting to act like real Vikings.
There you go. 2 Western backs gained 100 yards today. Scott Lohr and Mike Nelson, each over the 100-yard mark. Pacific at Whitworth, and Whitworth recorded the victory in Spokane today. Linfield visiting Willamette, and Linfield got back on the right track. A 2-21 victory. Western Oregon at Eastern Oregon, and the 19th ranked Western Oregon had a relatively easy time in that game, I think we could say.
We haven't included the Columbia score yet. I guess they're not officially in the list. They will be next year.
And it's time.
Remember where you heard it first.
And it's time for the weekly Heisman Watch with J. Michael Kenyon, and we all know who's going to be at the top of the list. It's somewhat interesting to find out what the rest of it looks like.
We're paring down the rest of the list. We're coming down into the home stretch. We've just got honorable mention. We're not designating them 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 anymore. Just honorable mention. These are the 4 guys that are left. Emmett Smith, the incredible freshman from Florida. Gaston Green, who bowed out of the race today with a pinched nerve in his neck, but his team nevertheless beat Arizona State. Steve Taylor, to me, has come to the forefront of all the quarterbacks. The junior from Nebraska, he's just got a lot more style than the other guys. He's so much fun to watch, and it'll be fun to watch Notre Dame play against them in the Orange Bowl for the national championship. And I finally come to the conclusion, Keith, that Blair Thomas, the black shoes, are a good thing. I wasn't sure all year long whether black shoes were good or bad. I think they're good, and Blair Thomas had his career-high rushing effort today, 181 yards. An injury-riddled Penn State team was able to come back and beat West Virginia. They're also getting ready for Notre Dame. Notre Dame has to play everybody. It's a good thing they've got number 1. Yes, after Angelo Bertelli, Johnny Lujack, Leon Hart, Johnny Latner, Paul Hornung, John Hewitt, no other school has had 6 Heisman Trophy winners. No one's had 7 until this year. Tim Brown, 173 yards of individual offense today, scores a touchdown. We saw it on the highlights with a great pass catch. Had another near touchdown. Johnson popped the ball over from 6 yards out. He's just had a phenomenal career. Timothy Donnell Brown, born July 22nd, 1966. Kids all over America are going to be wearing number 81. You moms and dads out there, you're in jerseys with 81 on them. The kids are going to want them for Christmas. We're going to have them in time for the Orange Bowl.
And as we go to break on this Halloween night, let's show you scores from the rest of the country. We're pleased to join us for college football Saturday night.
I'm Ted Sadler. At my Port of Tacoma Furniture Warehouse closing down sale, time is running out. Recliners at low, low prices, living room sets at half price. We are open every day, but time is running out. Our lease is almost up. Shop all furniture stores, then come to my warehouse at 2602 Port of Tacoma Road. You can't miss it. I-5 to exit 136, Port of Tacoma, 3 lights on the left. Furniture for a lot less. It has to be sold. It can't go to Alaska. Remember the Port of Tacoma for the big furniture sale.
What a great deal.
At Dick's Cascade Ford, get any new 87 or 88 Ford car or truck right now for only $9 down. Or deal on any used car for only $5 down. Deals on hot new Thunderbirds, Mustangs, Broncos, and more, just $9 down. A tremendous selection of used cars, now only $5 down from Dick's Cascade Ford. Credit hassles? Try us for deals that keep customers coming back.
Why shop anywhere else? Drive a little, save a lot at Dick's Cascade Ford today.
Tuesday. Ali Sheedy, the basket case. Emilio Vez, the jock. Molly Ringwald, the princess. Judd Nelson, the rebel. Anthony Michael Hall, the brain. In the morning, they were total strangers. By afternoon, they were the Breakfast Club. Tuesday night at 8 on Q13.
Football Saturday night is being brought to you by Ham's Beer from the land of sky blue waters. Nothing beats the tall taste of Ham's.
Well, next week I'll be in Tucson. You'll be here as we bring you another edition of College Football Saturday night. We're on the road to follow the Huskies. We'll be on the air next week at 5 o'clock with a pregame show here on Q13.
And we'll have an immense array of Tim Brown highlights from the Notre Dame-Boston College game. Keith's down in Arizona. It'll take me all afternoon just to get Tim Brown's film together for you.
For J Michael Kenyon, I'm Keith Shipman. Washington and Oregon State. Husky football Saturday night next here on Q13.
It's Halloween and homecoming on the campus of the University of Washington, a time when student creativity is at its highest. Greek Row is a buzz of activity as fraternity brothers and sorority sisters compete for the best homecoming display. And the expression, some really use their heads. Homecoming also means football, and that's what we have for you today as the orange and black clad Oregon State Beavers come in to take on the Washington Huskies here in a very wet Husky Stadium. Hard to believe. And happy Valentine's. I'm Don Poyer along with Sam Atkins and Keith Shipman.
I'm the ugliest.
We've never looked any better, have we? Happy Halloween, everybody. I trust all your ghouls and goblins are either home in bed or ready to tape delayed broadcast of the Oregon State-Washington game. Now, 2 years ago, you might remember, here in Husky Stadium, Oregon State not only provided the trick, but they received the treat, upsetting the Huskies when they were 37-point underdogs. Last year, Washington got the victory in Corvallis, but it was a very close game. This rivalry has really heated up the last couple of years.
And as much as the coaching staffs would probably not want to admit it, that 85 game has played a big factor in motivation this week. Washington really wants a victory today to keep their season bowl berths alive. Oregon State is capable of winning this football game, and the reason being, they've got a great quarterback. His name is Eric Wilhelm. He's played very well the past couple of weeks. Chris Chandler's had a week off to recover from that disappointment against Southern Cal.
He's been recovering from those bruised ribs that he's had all year long, but when you look at a comparison of the two quarterbacks, Eric Wilhelm in the last 3 ball games has thrown for 1,118 yards, while Chris Chandler has thrown for over 1,300 yards in 7 ball games.
Now, Oregon State has demonstrated that it's very capable of moving the football on any team. Case in point, they were ahead at halftime against Arizona State last week. Husky defense has its hands full.
Yeah, they do move the ball through the air. Eric Wilhelm is leading the Pac-10 in total offense, 305 yards, also in passing. But the Husky defense ranks #1 against the pass.
Time now for our weekly feature, Atkins Angle. Sam, what are the key points in this game?
Oregon State done a great job of protecting their quarterback. They have got to continue that. But the Huskies have got to let loose with the blitz a little bit, put some more pressure on Eric Wilhelm. Also, Washington is going to have to keep that powerful offense on the sideline. They're going to have to really get that running game going. Oregon State is allowing 286 yards a game rushing.
All right, Oregon State and Washington have their bags of tricks ready to go, and we'll have the kickoff between these two Northwest rivals right at this timeout.
Hi, I'm Lenny Wilkins for All-American North Seattle Chrysler Plymouth. We don't just sell used cars, we sell preferred used cars. All our preferred used cars are safety checked to qualify for the strict standards of our used car service contract. Available on all the cars we sell, our service contracts can protect you from the rising cost of auto repair and give you the peace of mind you deserve. Come see how a preferred used car can meet your needs at North Seattle Chrysler Plymouth, 137th and Aurora Avenue North.
Set. Red, 30, 30. Be hit.
Q13 Sports presents the Oregon State Beavers versus the Washington Huskies. Tonight's game is being brought to you by Union Bay Sportswear, proud supporters of Husky football, a division of Seattle Pacific Industries. By Fred Meyer, your one-stopping center. By Alaska Airlines, serving all of Alaska and cities throughout the West. And by First Interstate Bank, we'll do everything we can to make you a loan.
Welcome back to Husky.